Good evening, everybody! After 15 rounds of tense competition, it all comes down to this, the Australian Grand Prix from Adelaide. Cars are just finishing their qualifying session, and it appears that Dave Miller is on the pole with Anders Nilsson on the outside and David Jakes in third. We'll have a more detailed look at this in a moment. And I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, Jason. Good evening, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here tonight because it's such an amazing situation that we will be having here, a championship decided in the final race. What else could we ask for?
Yeah, this is what you always want it to come down to, a situation where you're crowning the champion at the last race. Historically, Adelaide in the F1 calendar typically didn't have this luxury. Well, there's one notable time when they did. I believe it was in 1986, where in spectacular fashion Mansell lost the championship because of a burst tire. But in most other cases, there wasn't a champion crowned in Adelaide. But as the qualifying is finishing here, it appears that the championship challenger Dave Miller is going to be on the pole with Nilsson in second and Jakes in third. So this is setting up what could be a very dramatic finish. Let's take a look at the drivers' points as they stand right now. As we've mentioned in previous broadcasts, Pascal Mikola has left the series, and he is standing on 63 points, and the lead, Dave Miller, is in second with 58 points. The rest of the drivers there, Jakes, Nilsson, and Del Piccolo, are not eligible to win the championship because they're mathematically too far back, but Miller, if he wants to snatch the championship from Mikola tonight, he has to finish second or better. And if qualifying is any indication, Alberto, I think he's placed himself well to do just that.
Well, he has obviously done his homework. He knows very well what he needs to be the champion here, and it's going to be a really tough race for him because he's not racing against anybody who is on the track. He has absolutely no reference except himself. He needs to be really on his toes. He needs to be, as you said, second, or even better, which means basically winning the race. And that's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. So we're going to see, I think, first of all, if Dave can cope with the pressure, and second, if that famous quote by an NFL coach of some time ago is true about winners never quit and quitters never win. Gotta see that tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be put to the test. You're right. There is one other championship to play for this evening. That's the Constructors' Championship, and that's a bit tighter of an affair. Braun Tyrrell Honda is in the lead there with 65 points. Scuderia Italia is in second with 63. So that'll be an interesting one to watch as well. Ken and Williams' team is also in the hunt for the Constructors' Championship. They have 58 points out of the mathematical running for the championship, but still in the top five. We have Minardi team with 47 points and Team 7-Up Jordan with 45. The track itself, the Adelaide Street Circuit, site of many dramatic races and some farcical ones, if that's a word, like the actual 1991 Australian Grand Prix was only 14 laps because of torrential rain. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with that in this race, but this is probably one of the better respected street circuits worldwide, I would think, Alberto.
Yes, it is. It's a circuit that was a classic. Drivers in general liked it because despite being a street track, it was surprisingly open in many of the areas. I think when the championship switched to Melbourne, that's also a quite open track, but it had actually, at least in my opinion, nothing to offer that was actually bettering what Adelaide already had to do.
Yeah, it looks rather rectilinear when you see it on the screen just now, but it is a lot more open than that graphic suggests. And it flows a lot better than you might expect.
Yes, this is a street track, but it certainly has a flow to it. Then it has the long straights, some really high-speed turns there. And in terms of driving and of strategy, tonight, we are going to see people not having that much concern about the tires because tires are not going to be a big issue here, but certainly brakes are going to be. We know there are some heavy cars in the field, like the Brabham and also the McLaren, and
Yes.
those are going to suffer a bit more with the brakes. And drivers will obviously have to take care about that. Fuel consumption shouldn't be much of a concern either. But in any case, traffic probably is going to be, because despite the open nature of this track, if you find here a lapped car in the twisty section, it's going to hurt you bad time, because yeah, there's a bit of an open section of a nice wide part of the track, but there is also a very narrow one with these turns that are following each other in a nice flow, but also without giving you any chance to actually get enough momentum to overtake the car in front. So we're going to see here some drama between the lapped cars and the overtaking ones, and also in the case of fighting for position.
All right, so we do have one driver here who's about to start a full lap. Let's have a look. It's Anders Nilsson, who should be starting second. Or is he doing well, he's kind of, oh, I know what he's doing. He's going to do a practice start. Well, this is interesting in any sense. Yeah, he's pulling into his slot here. He's going to do a practice burnout, which we don't see too often here. Let's see what he does. Oh, he's trying. Yeah, see, he's trying to be gentle with the clutch and get underway. So here he goes now on a lap through the chicane that starts the lap. Now back to the left. You're heading slightly uphill here. And here comes the first of a series of 90-degree bends.
Yes.
Right hand here. And now back to the left again. And there's no gear shifts typically here. You're just trying to get the car through here as cleanly and as quickly as possible. Another right-hander. And
Yes.
now you accelerate up to the Stag Turn. First you go through this left-right combo. This is the Stag Turn here.
Yeah,
the
this
second
all
gear.
has been the section we had been talking about. Very
Yeah.
narrow, very complicated to negotiate here with lap cars, and now the track starts to open a bit.
Yeah, then you have this really quick flick, which if you're not careful, you can go right over that curb. Now the Jack Brabham straight.
And here
Which-
is the clear overtaking point
Yes.
of the track.
And now into racetrack hairpin at the very end here. Now back to the left. Another almost almost right angle corner. Now sweeping back to the left, now to the right, and here comes the other hairpin, finishing the lap at Adelaide. So yeah, brakes are definitely going to be a cause for concern because of the fact that you're coming from that big high-speed straight down to practically like 35 miles an hour or something for that right-hand hairpin. So
Yes.
how are the drivers going to baby their brakes for 81 laps?
They're going to do some early braking, that's for sure. They're going to let the car roll into the turns. And they are probably going to be not joking for position a lot unless they are pretty sure that they can cool down the brakes. Overall, as we have been watching and seeing, this is a track that has one small part that is a very wide open section with this very quick corner. And let me tell you something, unless you really get that corner well, you are not going to have any overtaking chance in the straight that follows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you need the momentum out of that corner, and we're going to see a lot of play here with the drivers that know that they have an aggressive car behind trying to kill the momentum out of the corner for the car behind. Because if he gets your slipstream, you're basically dead. You're a sitting duck in the straight, even if it's not very long. And we're going to basically see a lot of aero washout on that corner. And that will be telling of people who have done a setup prepared for overtaking or just for hot lapping themselves.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think we're going to make the 81 lap distance.
Here, if you are following Nilsson now, for example, he's
Yes.
behind Mike Olson now. And you can see the difficulties here because the track is overly very narrow. So there is not really a lot of room here to put your wheel inside unless, as we just saw, someone makes an error.
Yeah, there is a bit of runoff here, but the curbs are there to keep you from going there when you're at race speed. So you definitely don't want to be out there if you can help it.
You better do, because otherwise you're going to hit a very hard wall some yards behind that.
Yeah, you can see even here, Nilsson is still riding up on that curb. So this is a track that takes a lot of precision. It's highly technical. I think we're going to see a real interesting contest today. Really interesting contest. Really is an adverb, not an adjective. All right, well, while we have a moment, let's take a look at some other items of interest, namely what's coming up at ISO next week. We're going back USAC IndyCar racing. It's the Arizona 150. We end the season where we began it, in the Valley of the Sun. 150-mile race on a 1-mile oval. Championship already decided there, but it should be an exciting race. I've been practicing there already, and it's you're definitely on a knife edge the whole way around. Whereas Milwaukee, as a 1-mile oval, is very flat, and the track doesn't offer you much chance to build up speed and turns. Phoenix is very much a bull ring, as they like to call it. So,
Yeah.
should be really
Milwaukee
interesting.
is basically a place where you're drag racing between corners,
Yes.
as they used to say. Whereas in the case of Phoenix, it's about keeping momentum for the whole lap, especially in the kink, and you're always on that ragged edge, trying not to lose the car in the high-speed corners. So it's very different, very distinct. It's a track that historically has been actually loved by many of the drivers in the USAC Championship Trail, but has been taking the toll big time on many drivers, and one of them, I think probably one of the prime examples, is Nigel Mansell. When he came here in '93 in his debut year in kart, and he was the reigning Formula One champion, and was like, yeah, even no matter if he said that he had respect for the ovals and that his attitude was maybe a bit, how difficult can that be, just turn left, and bang, there he hit the wall big time and broke his back there.
Yeah, it was. I remember that accident. I was just like, "Oh goodness," you know. But thankfully, he was okay, and he ended up winning the championship that year. He mentioned at the time that he was the first person to punch a hole in the concrete wall at Phoenix.
True.
In actual fact, that's not true. A hole had been punched in the wall by Tom Sneva prior, in another incident similar to Mansell's high speed. But in any case, it was a dramatic accident, and it shows why. Oval racing, turning left is something to fear if you're not familiar with it, or you should at least respect it and take it seriously. So that's coming up next week, December 6th. And then we are closing out the year with a surprise event. This is to finish up the Lucas Vedra Trophy. We're going touring car racing, super tourers at the Salzburg Ring. This is a fun circuit. We've done this particular event in another league, I believe a couple years ago, and this should be a fun way to end up the Lucas Vedra Trophy. We're going to have 2 races, so they'll count as round 7 and 8, and the second race, round 8, will count for double points in the championship, so it'll be a very interesting wrap-up to the Lucas Vedra Trophy.
Yeah, it will be. It will be a quite fun end. I'm going to get a car there, and I suspect that you will be doing too.
Yes, because
touring
it's fun.
cars is something that, well, it's always so fun to do, especially with the super tours. And the Salzburg Ring, I must say, is one of the tracks I absolutely love. It has that flowing nature. The only thing that I really don't like about it is how quickly a lap ends there. Because you would expect with that flowing nature it to be like Spa or Road America, one of those tracks that flows and flows and keeps you going, and you get the 2-minute laps, but no, that's not the case. It's quite shorter. That's the only shame about it, but otherwise it's beautiful in a great scenery there in the Austrian mountains.
Yeah, it looks like a rubber band that's been laid out on a table or something. But it's definitely going to be an interesting race, and it'll be a fun way to finish up that series. Let's look at what's coming up at ISO in the next couple of weeks. We also have our customary trivia question for you. Here is the trivia question for you to ponder while we watch the race. McLaren and Ferrari share the record for the most Australian Grand Prix wins by a constructor, with 12 in this particular race. The question for you is, who is next on this list with 6 wins? Is it A, Cooper, B, Williams, or C, Lola? Remember that we're talking about the Australian Grand Prix in terms of not just Formula One races, but in any other iteration where it's the Grand Prix. So non-championship races are included in that list. So we'll have an answer for you later on in the broadcast. So drivers are still practicing here, getting used to, as you pointed out, probably, Alberto, the washout. Oh my goodness, there's some people losing their losing control of the car at the very quick turn that occurs right before the Brabham Straight. My guess is we're going to see a lot of action there during the race. All right, so while we have a moment here, we got 16 minutes to go. We're going to pause for our customary commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay right where you are.
There's a big sense of pride in owning a company.
I think customers have noticed the change in the company and the change in us.
We've got this 24-hour hotline in case something happens while you're out on the road.
If you're in a hurry, we've added extra buses, get you in and out fast.
We want to make sure that our customers see that we can provide them with the type of service that they expect and deserve.
We love to make people happy. That's a part of our business, to keep you coming back.
We want to see them back at our counter again, many times. So why rent from anyone but an owner?
These are the machines of the 90s.
Fuel injection, overhead cams, poly valve.
Today's high-tech engines demand high-tech protection. Kendall Motor Oil is specifically designed to provide the ultimate protection against heat and wear under the most extreme conditions. Don't take a chance with your high-tech engine. Use Kendall Motor Oil, formulated to protect your high-tech engine. Kendall Motor Oil, pour in the protection. Kendall, available at these locations.
Cos'è questa cosa qua? Mi sembra una cosa veramente strana.
It's a hot new 35mm camera from Canon.
It's just a camera.
Sembra sospetto.
The Canon Photura.
Camera.
With futuristic flash, automatic one-hand control, and long-range power zoom lens. Photura.
You have to come with us.
It's just a camera.
Please.
The new Photura from Canon. So advanced, it's simple.
Hello?
Hi, Sam. Listen, I really need to go.
Listen, can you hold on for a second?
Some things are simply too good to be interrupted. The Legend sedan from Acura.
Hello? Sam, are you there? Sam?
Thanks to special lease rates, getting into a Legend coupe or Legend sedan has never been easier.
I hit a tree head-on, going 45 miles an hour. My earrings flew out of my ears. My shoes flew off my feet. I totaled my LeBaron, but I walked away with a few bruises. You know, people say I was lucky. I say luck had nothing to do with it. A Chrysler airbag saved my life.
I could give you a dozen reasons why you should consider a Chrysler product, but today, I'll give you just one. Karen McGowan.
Welcome home, America, to the biggest Dodge truck sale ever. We're dropping the cost of owning the Dodge truck you want. Save up to $4,200 on full-size Dodge pickups, up to $3,700 on Dodge Dakotas, and up to $4,370 on Ram vans. It's the largest total savings ever available on these Dodge trucks, with prices starting under $7,500. So drop in to the biggest Dodge truck sale ever. Drop into your Dodge dealer now.
Open your coat, please. Take that thing out slowly and open it.
You got some kind of device. We have a possible situation.
No,
we have a situation here.
Not a situation. Just touch the button. Quiet, please. It's just a car stereo.
Pioneer car stereos offer you a detachable face for the ultimate in security.
You see, it's a detachable face for the car stereo. What's the matter with these people?
Excuse me, sir. Why'd you get to know Geostorm?
Well, you just point it and it goes.
So it's a straight-ahead kind of car?
I don't know. It's got a few sexy curves.
So it's a well-rounded car?
Well, it's
priced under 11 grand at your Chevrolet Geo dealers.
Yeah, that too. Oh, sorry. You want to see a new Geo turn really beautiful? Amazing. Unbelievable. You got to admit, that's a beautiful Geo. at your Chevrolet Geo dealer.
It's Saturday morning out in the garage. Time to tune up the car for a little spin at about 200 miles per hour. This is the International Race of Champions, and these are master mechanic tools from True Value hardware stores, because around here, performance really counts, and these guys need tools they can count on. So do you. So get master mechanic tools from participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
With the highest resale value in its class and proven Honda reliability, the Accord truly is a safe place to put your money.
And we are back. So 11 minutes to go in the warm-up, Alberto. I would think also another thing to consider with these drivers is that fuel usage, you know, the car's going to change a lot over the course of the run. They've got to top these things up in order to go 81 laps. And that's definitely going to have some bearing on the handling as they go.
Yeah, it sure will. Because I just spoke with Little Al. He's going to put 200 liters on the car, which is about 170 kilograms of weight. Imagine that. Because those are cars that are like 100 something kilos empty. So it's a big amount of fuel. It's something that will certainly stress the tires a lot at the beginning of the race. And, well, they will have much more leeway towards the end of it when the full tank is getting empty. But in any case, they need to be really careful at the beginning of the race.
The other question would be, how many tire stops are we going to see? I would guess one.
Yeah, probably. I would guess one, because even if people are going for the softest compound here, they should not need more than one. It depends on the driving style, because we have lots of slow speed corners here, which means they will be powering out of them, and if they are not careful with the throttle, they might really eat up the rear tires. But still, they should be able to get away with softs, not super softs, but softs. I would think that some people would put super softs after the first pit stop, maybe if they are confident that they can really, well, make them last. But otherwise, yeah, probably the right strategy here is a single stop.
Riding on board right now with K.O. McHeels in his Ligier Lamborghini. This is one guy that's probably going to have a rough day today as far as handling the car, because, as we've noted before, the Lamborghini and Ligier combo is kind of overweight, and that's not going to help him in terms of hauling the thing to a stop and in terms of tire wear.
Certainly not. At least he will be able to say he has been one of the guys who had the best soundtrack all around the circuit.
No question about that. It is the best sounding car, one of the best sounding cars in this mod. But he has had a couple of good finishes with this car recently, so we'll see how he does. I mean, we could be looking at a pretty high attrition race when you get down to it.
Yeah, I would expect so, because any errors are going to be paid for dearly here.
Yes.
With all those barriers. So I think the strategy of everybody, well, except maybe those who are really, really desperate for points and for making a good show before the end of the season for their teams. But the general strategy here should be to actually be quite careful until the first pit stop and then go racing, you know, like the old strategy in the 500 milers. You basically are conservative at the beginning, and then you go racing in the last third of the race.
Oops, a little bit of a miscommunication there between Gabriel Del Piccolo and David Yunt at the hairpin. But that's the other thing that's going to be critical here is communicating your intent to other drivers clearly, and them talking about probably the ones who are going to be lapped.
Yes, because with this sequence of corners one after the other, there is not a lot of room to actually let the other driver know what you're going to do.
There comes little Al out of the pits again. See if we can pick him up here. Oh, we also have Simon Watman in this race. Looks like he's having a little bit of an issue with his Lotus, but there's a few people making some last one-off appearances here in this series. This is their last chance to experience these beasts before we take a few more years backwards in time for the 2021 season.
And those are going to be real beasts.
Oh, yes. Uh-oh. Simon's taking his front wing off, so...
And speaking of that, I guess since we have now a bit of a small, well, of a slow situation where people are just basically doing the warm-up, we could as well talk quickly about the incoming season and the 86 cars, because you and me have been able to do some beta testing on them.
Yes.
We have a server up and running. Everybody should have been able to already watch that. And yeah, the 86 cars are already rolling all around.
Yeah, if you look at our Facebook page, you'll see that we've posted a video in there of Juha Boss testing the Lotus at Rio.
And quite interestingly, he did even to the millisecond, the same lap time as the pole.
That's impressive. But it gives you a good indication of what the cars are like to drive as far as how they behave. He has a few hairy moments in that video. So it'll give you an idea of what's coming up with that. We're also working very hard on the USAC 78 mod behind the scenes, getting that ready to go, making very good progress, thanks to, of course, Alberto with his physics expertise, and also to Richard Wilkes for helping us with tires.
Yep.
So
we have been doing tests and trying a new tire model done by him, which is basically a continuation of all the work that he has been doing in Formula One and all the other series to bring the most realistic tire model possible to sim racing. And I'm really happy, really delighted with these latest tire models, because we're going to be road racing these things that were never actually intended to do that kind of racing, and they are enjoyable. They are really nice to drive, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that next year.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a great combo, two excellent series, and of course, we've got a really great group of drivers with great talent who are going to make it fantastic. They're going to be the last vital ingredient in making 2021 a great series. So, definitely we're excited about that. It is nice, too, that we get to cap off the year with... the touring car races, because this year has been a little more focused on open wheel cars than tin top cars, as people like to say. But I think this will be a fun way to cap off the year with these two Salzburg ring races. Hope everyone's excited about that. We're going to launch that server after this race, and then we're going to have our customary 1 day of testing before people can actually declare their intentions to race or not. All right, 4 minutes to go. So predictions, Alberto.
Yeah, it's I think the time for the predictions. So do you want to go first, or should I pick my own choice first?
Well, I don't want to jinx anybody in particular. I mean, it's we're going to be crowning a champion tonight, and a lot of that's going to depend upon probably what happens in the first few seconds of the race. I don't know. I mean, my prediction is that I think Anders might be able to score a win here. I mean, he has the best time in warm-up right now. Dave Miller is second. Thiago is third fastest in the warm-up. But I'm going to go with Nilsson winning and Miller taking second place to win the championship by a point. That's my prediction.
Okay, that's a fairly nice prediction. That's something that probably, if I was thinking with my head, I will also do. But I'm going to pick Miller, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because he's the classical English sportsman, and he's the typical guy who probably, even if he has a calculating mind, he will be willing to do it the English way, and that means winning with style.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a vow for him of competency and say, go Miller, he's going to win the race.
Well, that's a confident prediction, and you can't argue with a confident man. The other thing I would point out is Miller has got a lot of people on the line today wishing him well, not the least of which are his Mrs. Dave, Angel May, I'm sure is on there somewhere, and Barry Lynn Wilson watching as well. They are the president and they're the co-presidents of the Dave Miller fan club. So, and Dave's dad might be dropping in maybe on YouTube as well, because he's watched a few races. My neighbor down the street, Eric, might be tuning in as well. But lots of people anxious to see how this series is going to end up. It's been a fun and exciting 15 rounds, and it all comes down to this. So,
yeah, I think the beauty of running a whole series over the whole year is that it's like you go race by race. You always want to have those good results. You always keep like the championship in check, the points table and all that. But here, now, at the end of the year, with this funnel is when you realize what a climax it is, what a monumental effort you have been doing the whole year, and what a big reward it is to become a champion. Because being the champion of one of these series is not just having being quick and winning this race or whatever. I mean, it's a really big effort, a whole year effort. So it's something memorable, something really worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got about a minute to go here. If you're Dave Miller starting this race from the pole, I mean, you obviously don't want a repeat of what happened in Japan. What do you tell yourself to get yourself mentally? I mean, obviously he wants to just flush that memory and forget about it. But what do you do to make sure that's not going to happen again?
Well, I don't know. If I was Dave, the only thing that I would do is basically sweep out of my mind all the other thoughts that are not what I'm going to do in the next corner, in the next moment. Just basically have some confidence in my practice, in my training, and all the movements that I've been memorizing during all the training to do everything right. And I've been told some moments ago by another driver that tires are going to be stone cold at the exit, and it's not until they are 4 or 5 corners into the race that they are going to have the proper temperature to actually go racing. So Miller is going to be careful, but I think that right now what he really needs to do is just basically focus in doing his job, nothing else.
I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, we got zeros on the clock, so we're going to be moving to the race session very shortly. A reminder for everybody of what our drivers are facing. It's 2.362 miles around in this circuit, 81 laps or 2 hours, whichever comes first. The final race of the F1 1991 season, Adelaide, Australia, and that will determine the world champion for this series. And just to remind you where the drivers' points are at right now, Mikola is still in the lead with 63 points. Dave Miller is in second with 58. He must finish second or better if he's going to snatch the title this evening. We have moved ahead to the race session now. 81 laps are on the board and 2 hours. Cars are populating the grid. Everybody get settled in for some exciting Formula One action. In answering Jan Kowalski's question, no, it's not going to rain. So
predictions are 0 rain today.
Yeah, no, we have 0 forecast, but we do have a 100% forecast for exciting racing.
And if we have some rain here, I will personally log in as administrator and kick it out.
All right, cool. So Miller is already on the grid in his Williams, and as we usually do, once the cars start rolling away, we will go through the whole grid. Uh-oh. Apparently, we have gone back to the warm-up. Did someone get kicked out of the game and we're going to wait?
No, they are just loading the right grid. It will be back in a moment.
Oh, I see. Okay. There's the siren once again, so we're going to try this one more time.
We've always said it, but it's how it is. Tense moments, very tense moments for drivers. When a start is called false start and you need to go through the process again, it's like it kicks in your concentration and it's like, wow, you were all absolutely set up to go racing and then just start over again. But then focus sets us in and they will be racing great, I'm sure of that.
All right. Cars are populating the grid once again. You can see Jakes is right behind Miller on the grid, starting third. And Nilsson should be directly to our left, Miller's right, as we start peeling away here. Cars, almost all of them are on the grid now. You're going to see a few names in some curious spots because there's some people who are using this last race as a way to try out different cars that they haven't tried out before. So it may be a bit confusing, but as ever, here we go. On the pole, Dave Miller in the Williams-Renault FW14. Second, Anders Nilsson, Benetton Ford B191. Third, David Jakes, Dallara Judd D191. Fourth, Brian Janik. And those of you who have eagle eyes will note that he's wearing Roberto Moreno's helmet. This is the one start that Moreno had for them, I believe. Driving a Minardi Ferrari M191. Fifth is Gabriel Del Piccolo, Jordan Ford J191. Sixth, Vadim Tesiak, Minardi Ferrari M191. Seventh is Ray Riddle, who had a spectacular outing in Japan, driving the McLaren Honda. Eighth is Johnny Aces in the Dallara Judd D191. Ninth, Little Al, McLaren Honda. 10th, David Saber in the first Ferrari 643. 11th, Grant Riddle, driving the Leighton House Ilmore CG 911. 12th, David Yunt, Brabham Yamaha BT60Y. 13th, Tim Hilla in his Jordan Ford J191. 14th, Mike Olson in the other Ferrari. 15th, Adam Hackman in the other Benetton Ford. 16th, Cesarius Slipinski in the Tyrrell Honda 020. 17th, Jean Thiem in the LaRousse Ford LC91. 18th, Juha Boss giving the Footwork Heart a try in this race. We'll see how that goes for him. 19th, K.O. McHeels in the Ligier Lamborghini JS35B. 20th, Jules Bouchard in the other Leighton House. 21st, Tomas Matuszek in the other Brabham Yamaha. 22nd, Simon Watman, Lotus Judd. 23rd, Bruno Chacon in the other Williams Renault. 24th, Thiago Canola in the LaRousse Ford. And rounding out the field, 25th in the other Lotus is Steve Parker. That's your grid.
Lots of smoking there, as people are trying to do burnouts to keep the tire temperature and also the brakes in check. They are now coming slowly to the grid. Last turn now for the leader. And he's obviously trying to slow down the pack so that everybody has time to catch up and they don't have to stand for a lot of time there waiting until the start, because we have seen already some barbecues over the season.
Yeah, we don't want to see that.
No,
so
it would be a shame here in the last race.
Looks like Miller did a good job slowing them down before they got there, so they should hopefully not be on the grid too long. We're glad you're here to oh, look at that. One of the Leighton houses is placed in such a way to depart from the grid expeditiously. Already some tactics playing out before the race even gets started. All right, we're under starter's order. Standby for the start of the Australian Grand Prix.
In watch out for turn 1, the chicane.
And the race is underway. Doesn't look like there's too much contact going on back there. Miller gets away cleanly into the lead. No dramatics there.
Many cars jumping the first chicane, but that's okay because so they make room. Everybody makes it safely through.
Yep, cars are coming through without too much trouble. Oh my goodness, 4 wide going. Oh, Jules Bouchard taking a rather rodeo ride on the outside there. Miller is in the lead. Nilsson is in second. David Jakes is in third. Gabriel Del Piccolo fourth. Ray Riddle fifth. Oh goodness, we have one car that I believe that was, oh my goodness, and Bouchard hitting the wall. I believe that was Jonatan Acerclinth, who has already had some kind of an incident and is out of the race.
And
oh my goodness.
Bouchard is without the front wing.
Goodness, so already there's drama playing out.
John Thiem also does. And Jonatan is without both wings.
Oh my goodness.
Looks like a Formula Ford, but he's making it back to the pit.
Vadim Tesiak going for an inside move on Saber. Looks like he's going to get it done. Yeah, it looks like there are some cars without wings, but looks like the bulk of the field is doing okay. Yeah, you can see Jonathan emerging there from...
Oh, and Vadim Tesiak hit the wall there. too optimistic after his overtake. It's a shame he had just completed the overtake, but no. Oh, and Little Al now was surprised by the breaking point from David Sabre, had to go veer to the left, and now he's back on the track. He's behind Jules Bouchard, who surprisingly didn't pit despite the broken front wing.
It's possible that he can't see it, but we do have some cars into the pits now. Here comes, I believe, that is Tiago Canola in the pits, getting his wing replaced. But we're probably also going to be seeing Jonatan Acerclinth in there shortly, as we're already halfway through.
Must be the other LaRousse, because Tiago is on track now. It's Jonatan John Tim on the other LaRousse, who is in the pits repairing.
Okay. Heading down into the hairpin. This is an aerial shot. This should be good to look at from a distance. There's Nilsson going through. Jakes, Del Piccolo, Riddle, Hilla, Janik, Grant Riddle, Yunt, Sabre. So the cars are starting to get spread out. There's Boss going down the inside of Schlapinski. That's a nice move. Little Al coming through there. There's Adam Hackman, K.O. McHeels. So it appears that people are starting to settle into a rhythm.
It's been a quite hectic start now.
So Miller's got a good cushion to start with here. He's got 2.3 seconds between himself and Nilsson. And Nilsson, as we mentioned, was the fastest in the warm-up. Miller was second fastest, so I would expect these two would set a pretty good pace to start. Third fastest in the warm-up was Canola, but of course now he's got a long distance to make up. He's in 18th at the moment. Riding on board now with Anders as he goes through that quick flick to the right. Very controlled, very nice job to stay off of that curb. Miller is everything according to plan so far. It looks like Miller is already encountering some traffic. This must be one of the cars that came out of the pits. Yeah, it's one of the LaRousses. So already Miller is going to have to deal with some traffic. Nilsson in second. Jakes in third. Looks like Ray Riddle might be starting to challenge Del Piccolo. I think everybody's being very mindful of the fact that this is a long race and they don't want to get tired out. Yuha in 11th place in the footwork. That's pretty impressive. Here's Bouchard coming around again still without a front wing. I'm starting to wonder if he's even aware that the wing is missing. Oh, Miller actually has a bit of a hairy moment there. Goes over a curb. Fortunate to get away with that. He's going to be gonna have to be careful about that through the race. I think he's in a very good spot right now because he's got a little bit of room between himself and Nilsson, and he doesn't have to think about defending himself too much, and he can focus on technically nailing all these spots right. Jake's in third place. Del Piccolo being stalked by Ray Riddle. Ray, of course, is going to have the power advantage on the straight, so we're going to have to... Oh, my goodness, there's a yellow flag here. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that's Simon Watman in the grass with the Lotus.
Oh, yep, there he is. Okay, well, he's off to the side, so thankfully he's not getting in the way of the leaders. As I was saying, Ray is going to have a bit of a power advantage with that Honda V12. But on the other hand, Del Piccolo is a guy that is very difficult to overtake. So it'll be interesting to see how Ray handles up Del Piccolo. The best place, obviously, for him to overtake him would be on Brabham Straight. So
yeah, so Simon Watman has a punctured tire.
Oh.
He is going slow. He's trying to join the track after all the pack has passed. Heading for the pits. It's a bit of a dangerous situation. And it's a shame to see Vadim Tasiak out of the race because he had blistering place with that Minardi. He was doing really, really well there, but I think that's good promise for next year.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so here's Riddle. If he can get a good exit here, All right, this is his opportunity here, coming down the Brabham Straight, although I think... here's Del Piccolo taking a defensive posture. He realizes what's going on here.
And Del Piccolo is one of the drivers who likes to go around with very low wings to maximize the speed in his car. That's the style of setup that he wants. He is a very good late breaker and also very good at keeping the car on track with low wings, and it's not going to be an easy thing for Riddle to pass him.
Another yellow
there
flag.
Is a superiority in the McLaren engine. Oh, Mike Olson. I see the car completely totaled. That Ferrari is out of the race.
Oh, goodness. Well, Mike's had a difficult year in that car. He did have one race where he was, I believe it was Italy, he was up to 7th and looking really good. But, yeah, this... I think it's fair to say that the Ferrari is not the easiest car to drive under normal circumstances. But,
No.
But he's, he's definitely been... he's been very quick in practice at many races, so we're looking forward to seeing how he'll do next year in these other series. I think whether he's driving a Ferrari or whatever, it'll be interesting to watch. There is Jonatan Acerclinth still trying to get his way back to the pits. It looks like he might have some other problem than just missing those wings. Maybe something's wrong with the suspension on the car. But Del Piccolo doing an excellent job of fending off Ray Riddle so far, considering the deficit of horsepower he has.
There's a slow car now. Jonatan Acerclinth there with a puncture, or did he miss the... Well, David Sauer just went straight, missing the braking zone, and that has elevated Little Al to 10th position, because after the start when he got all the problems, he's quickly climbing up again.
Meanwhile, we have an excellent battle between Tim Hille and Brian Janik for 6th place. These two are right together. This looks really exciting. Heading through the 90-degree corners now, back to the left now, then back to the right.
And Nilsson is slowly getting close to Dave Miller, who had been driving into the distance, but now that Nilsson has been settling into a rhythm, he's catching up with him.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's see if Miller can, if Janik can make any inroads on Hille here. It's all going to be predicated on how he gets out of this corner, and I think he's got him this time. Janik definitely had a better exit from that corner. Yes, this should be textbook coming down the straight here. Pops out.
Hille taking that curb has hurt him a lot in the exit speed.
Yep, there it is. So textbook pass at Adelaide here for Brian Janik, as that takes him into the points in 6th place. Oh, and Del Piccolo still trying to fend off the challenge of Ray Riddle. Very similar situation here, and Ray is tucked up right behind the rear wing of Del Piccolo.
Well, I tell you, Ray is a quality driver. I think he's one of the most capable on the grid now, but the last thing I would like to see in front of me is Gabriele Del Piccolo.
Yeah, I think I would second that. Meanwhile, thank you for pointing out the closing gap up front, because we're riding on board now with Anders Nilsson, and he sees Dave Miller just in front of him here. Now, Anders is in a difficult spot here, I would think, because it looks like he has the pace to overtake Miller, but at the same time, you want to be very careful doing so, because I'm sure that Anders, of all things today, does not want to be involved in an incident with a person who's challenging for the championship. That would be awful. And I'm sure that if there is some kind of a battle between these two, that he is going to be as careful as he possibly can be.
Yeah, Anders is a very fair driver, although this is probably the last chance to get a victory. Well, probably not. This is obviously the last chance to get a victory in
this
season.
series. Yeah.
And once you get a sniff at that, well, you know how our very competitive drivers are. It's like the shark smelling blood in the water.
And Janik has very quickly dispensed with Tim Hille once he got around him. So clearly Janik's got that car hooked up and ready to go for this race. So looks like it could be another really nice day for Minardi. And that's critical, too, because as we pointed out, or actually it's not Minardi that it's challenging for the sorry, I got them confused with Dallara. They're the ones who are actually... So a car to watch from the standpoint of the car points championship, the constructor championship, is going to be Jake's, because he's carrying the hopes of the Dallara team.
He lays there sideways in the middle of the track.
Oh goodness, he is. Let's look at a replay.
He's now waiting for the pack to come by. Very difficult situation for him now. Needs to reverse and hopefully
my goodness,
hasn't had any puncture, hopefully.
Grant Riddle was very lucky, and by the way, Tim Hill, excellent job to not back up into the path of the cars that are coming up. He waited until there was room. That is Class A driving. Class A driving from Hilla there. And
no puncture for him, so that's good. He can continue.
I think the only thing he would have to worry about here is overheating the engine for being stopped so long, but it looks like he's going to be okay. All right, well, that's some great driving there by Hilla, and not involving other people. Good job. Del Piccolo lapping, I believe that was Bruno Chacon, yeah. So Nilsson, the gap is pretty consistent now at about 1.7 seconds, but Miller's still encountering some lapped cars. I'm surprised how quickly the lapping has started here, because obviously some of these cars were those that jumped into the pits, but I don't recall Matusek having a problem, and already we're 10 laps in, and he's a lap down, so that's going to be...
they were slowed down by many of the incidents back.
Maybe.
So they had to stop in the middle of the track and swerve around the spinning cars and something like that, so that probably delayed them a lot. But here we have Riddle now very close to Gabriele Del Piccolo, looking for a suiting place to overtake.
Yeah.
Thiago Canola has his own very nice battle with Juha Boss. That's very interesting to see. Juha is now blocking here, but Thiago is going round the outside and not making it.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, Juha driving the footwork there with the Hart engine. Canola, oh my goodness, he's all over him like a cheap suit, trying to find a way by. And Canola's car doesn't have the most horsepower either. That's a DFR Ford engine, if I'm not mistaken. But coming through the final corner now, this is definitely an interesting battle. I find it curious that Juha would choose the footwork for this final round.
Because he has been trying cars occasionally, because he picked the McLaren of his idol, Ayrton Senna, at the beginning of the season, and he had some good hopes. And I think that's one of the funniest things about Juha Boss, because he's a quality driver, but the thing is, you put him in a very, very good top-end car, and I don't know if it's the pressure of that he needs an affinity with the car, but he won't be doing what you would expect of the car. But put him in a dog like this footwork, it's amazing to see the great job that he's doing here, fending off Thiago Canola in what is actually a better car.
Well, Canola gave him a gift there by running over the curb that basically bought him a reprieve for about a lap or two. Schlapinski soldiering on in the Tyrrell, a car that would have been driven by Mikkola had he stayed with the series, but good to see the Braun Tyrrell colors represented here.
And Nilsson seems to be incapable of getting closer to Dave Miller, or he's waiting for the latter part of the race to start his attack.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell what's going on here, but I would say that Nilsson is driving a smart race as there's a car making some room. Oh my goodness, that LaRousse of Jean Team has got like a pretty bent out of shape nose. That car's going to need a plastic surgeon. But yeah, Nilsson, I think, is just kind of feeling things out at the moment. He doesn't feel the need to really go for it. Jake's probably is in the same boat.
Yeah, we have here some interesting dancing pairs, because there's Anders Nilsson quite close to Dave Miller, however, keeping a distance and not willing to really get close, at least for now. Then we have Riddle and Gabriele Del Piccolo. And then behind them we also have, for example, Little Al and David Junt, who are quite close also. And it's interesting to see, because it's either a waiting game, or they are incapable of getting closer because of the aero washout in this track.
Looking back from the rear wing of Gabriel Del Piccolo's car. And Ray
There
is...
goes Thiago Canola again on Yuha Boss. What a fantastic battle these two are providing. And it seems that this time Thiago is going to prevail.
Oh, yep, you can see. I don't know, maybe not. Yeah, Thiago gets through, finally. Let's take a look at that in a replay. Coming down Brabham Straight, he pulls out to his right, goes down the inside.
Meanwhile, it seems that
Simon,
there have been several cars quitting the race, abandonments. Adam Hackman in the Benetton, David Sauber and Simon Watman.
Oh.
Yep. Very tolling race, as we said.
Yeah, we're not even to lap 15 yet, so that's I'm thinking that we're going to be seeing a very high attrition race based on what we're seeing here. Meanwhile, Riddle still worries the daylights out of Gabriel. This is going to be, I think, a question of setting up the car properly going on to Brabham Straight, and Del Piccolo is going to be trying to make his Jordan as wide as he can. We'll see what happens.
Well, Ray is taking it with some patience for now, because obviously there is a lot of race ahead. But
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see what his real pace is if he didn't have a car in front.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with Brian Janik. As soon as he got out from behind him, Tim Hill, he just took off like a rocket ship. So I would think the same thing might happen here with Ray if he can get around Gabriel. But as we've said so many times before, catching is one thing, and passing is another.
Yeah, and make no mistake. I mean, you need to be really much quicker than the car in front to pass here, unless there is an driving error.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Ray has an excellent toe down the straight here, but my guess is that Gabriel has his car trimmed out a lot in order to be able to defend himself against just these kind of situations where a car with more horsepower.
That he is a real fan of the low wings, and this is a real nightmare for the car who is behind.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, so they're coming up to lap KO now, who I'm sure will give them no problems. Gets out of the way. Yep, good sportsman, KO. This is one of the best battles on the track right now. Oh, and here's another one between Grant Riddle and I believe... Oh, no, actually, that's not a pass for position. That is a lapping situation. But Grant Riddle making an appearance in the Leighton house. You may remember that earlier in the year he was driving for Brabham.
Yep, one of the Brabhams.
Man, he's having
There is also another battle now between Little Al and David Junt.
Yep, there they are, looking at them from the helicopter shot. And David Junt has got Parker.
And there goes Riddle now, side by side with Gabriel Del Piccolo. And
oh, he's run too far wide, and Gabriel gets it back. Oh my goodness!
Great defense by Gabriele. They're very clean, gave him a lot of room, but Riddle outbreak himself. Good defensing maneuver by Gabriele Del Piccolo. Clean racing there.
Coming down the straight. Yeah, there have been a lot of incidents like this at Adelaide over the years in real life. You overcook it there, and then the car you're overtaking just simply lets you run wide and takes it right back. So clearly, if Ray's going to get by, he's going to have to find a way to haul the car to a stop better. But look at how much that cost him. It's put a sizable gap.
Gabriele a little bit of leeway, whereas David Junt is now suffering a bit more the attacks of Little Al.
Riding on board now with David Junt. We're going to get to his rear wing. There we are.
Climbing the walls there to make some distance before the long straight arrives.
Yep. So now Little Al has got David Junt in his sights. We'll see what happens here.
Not the best car to drive here, the overweight Brabham.
Yeah, we've talked about how this car is overweight and doesn't handle the greatest, so Little Al definitely has got the legs to overtake David Yunt. It's just simply a matter, I think, of catching up at the right spot.
Good move there by David Yunt, keeping the distance before the long straight. Because you can see how the McLaren is a rocket ship that is getting closer, but it's not going to be enough before the braking area.
No, unfortunately not. All right, coming through the last series of corners here. The Brabham carrying that special sponsorship for the last 2 races, Autobox.
There's now also Tim Hille climbing back some positions after his incident. Is now trying to overtake Juha Boss. Won't be able to make it this time, but is very close now.
Oh, yes. Definitely. Yeah, he dropped way down the field after he was dispensed with by Janik. We didn't catch that, I guess. Oh, no, wait, no, we did. We saw it. He spun. That's right. So now we've got an interesting matchup here between...
Whoa,
oh, my goodness!
Riddle just spun.
Tim Hille just ran straight off the track. I believe that's a disco.
Right, Riddle has spun.
No, he's here.
Sitting in the middle of the track. And I'm not sure what he's going to do. He's waiting for the pack to pass.
Oh, no!
Now. Grant, his son, barely went through. And there he goes. And it would seem to be that he has a puncture. Yes, he has
there
a
he
puncture.
is. All right.
Left rear tire is punctured. He needs to go for the pits very carefully.
It looks like he punctured it on that curb.
Yeah, could be. The overheating from the spinning is probably the reason why.
Yeah, right there. Right there is where it happened.
This elevates everybody some positions. Little Al now very close to David Yunt.
Oh my goodness, Ray's having a hell of a time getting back to the pits. He's just trying to get the thing back in one piece. And he's just dropping through the field like a stone, unfortunately. Oh, man.
Yep. And it's unfortunately too early for the pit stop because it's... Whoop. Little Al, they're understeering in front... understeering behind David Yunt.
Oh my goodness. Makes his way finally into the pits. Goodness.
Yeah, there you go. Now he needs to rethink his strategy. I mean, lap 16 is not the worst moment to do a two-stop strategy on very soft tires. So let's see if this at least pays off a bit.
That was a very quick stop, actually.
Yeah, only tires, obviously. No damage for him, fortunately.
He emerges
and
from...
John Tim very slow in the track there, but he was basically letting the leaders by. Anders Nilsson not yet close enough to Dave Miller, who is doing a quite dominant performance here. Now lapping his teammate Bruno Chacon. There you go, Bruno neatly makes some room. And the battle goes on.
Oh my goodness, it looks like there was a incident there with Juha. Juha like scraping the wall and Brabham straight. Let's have a look at that in replay. It looks like he was trying to get out from under Steve, but my goodness, he glances the wall there. I'm not sure what happened there.
And here's an interesting situation. For whatever reason, Grant Riddle seems to have lost a lot of ground. Maybe he had some kind of incident. And his sixth position is now very much in danger with David Yunt right behind him and Little Al next up.
Yeah, so this is a three-car battle looking like here.
They are playing here for the last points paying position, so there's some prize there up for grabs.
Oh my goodness, Grant has a bit of a shaky exit from that turn, and
yeah,
I
the
think
car is swerving a lot in the straights. I'm not sure if there is some damage there.
He's fighting the car. I was watching him earlier, and he clearly has got something going on. But David Yunt peeks underneath. There's KO letting them go by. But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting battle, no question. So we're starting lap number 20 now. So we're about a quarter of the way through the race at this point. God, Yunt climbing all over the back of Grant Riddle, looking for a way to get by.
Yeah, and he obviously knows that Little Al is behind him, so he doesn't want to waste any time. Oh!
Uh-oh.
Some excess of optimism with the throttle there.
Yep. And we've seen that during this series that the Brabham is not a car that you want to get overly optimistic with the throttle on because of the nature of how it handles.
Yeah, slow speed is a very powerful car.
All right, here's Yunt's probably got a good shot here. If he can, he's looking, but I still, he's not close enough, unfortunately, for him.
Nilsson, however, is now closing up with Dave Miller because Dave is just stuck behind lap traffic.
Well, yeah, he is. He's bottled up behind. I can't see quite a. It's a Lotus.
Is that?
It's Parker. So
there it goes. Very, very nice because Steve is a very, very polite driver and he will be making room. Fortunately for Dave Miller, he could get some distance before this long straight, and that means that Anders is not going to have the benefit of the tow.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of incidents like this, not incidents, but situations where traffic is going to play into the distance between cars. We've seen that.
Riddle is really fighting that car, doing a brilliant job in front of David June, but I don't think he's going to be able to fend him off for many laps.
Yeah, I don't think that he's doing a great job with that car under duress, but I don't.
But Cesaro just blown his engine.
Oh no.
The turtle is unfortunately out.
We are joined by Johnny Aces in the booth. Jonathan, nice to have you on board.
What's there on the slipstream?
Oh, Grant looking up the inside, or Yunt looking up the inside of Grant, and he gets the job done. Yep, that was going to happen eventually. That wasn't a situation that Grant was going to be able to maintain for very long, I don't think. Jonathan, what happened in your race? It looks like you had a pretty hairy start there.
Yeah, quite a lot of wheel spin at the start, so I lost out a little bit, and then everyone else was a bit too energetic in the start. It felt like was harassed from left and right and left a bit of room, and then coming out of what I think is turn 7, I had a little bit of wheel spin, and the guy behind sadly didn't account for that and slammed up my rear end and took my rear wing off, and unfortunately rearranged my rear suspension a little bit. So,
well, we're sorry that that's the way your 91 series ends, but on the other hand, it's nice to have you in the booth. Good to talk to you. You're free to hang out if you'd like while we watch the rest of the race, but we've been covering some really spirited battles between the one we're watching right now is pretty good, between Grant and David Yunt and Little Al. Little Al looks like he might be getting ready to size up Grant Riddle here. Actually, Grant did a good job closing up to David Yunt there. So this battle between Yunt and Grant Riddle may not be over yet. We have noted, however, that Grant is really having a hard time handling that Leighton house. I'm guessing, Alberto, you're probably right. He's probably got damage he's fighting.
Yeah, and for Little Al it's also very important to not lose David Yunt, because he was obviously a bit quicker. He had the opportunity to be there, to pass, and he needs really Grant to be able to follow David Yunt if Little Al isn't able to pass him.
Yeah, this is Little Al's just hanging back there to watch this. If I were him, I'd just wait and see what develops.
And now, Anders Nilsson, that's an interesting situation. He's shadowing Dave Miller. He's not making aggressive moves, he's not attacking, but he's there as a constant shadow to Dave Miller.
Well, I don't think Anders will be trying anything over-optimistic. If he's going for the move, he knows he's going to seal it as well.
Yeah, I think that as long as he sees that they are breaking away from David Yates, he will be happy to drive along. And then at some point, he will make his own attack.
I think it'd be interesting if Anders, if he wants to try to take the lead, one way that he could do it is by an overlap during the tire stop, which inevitably will happen at some point. That way it's the least risky for both of them on the track. On the other hand, it could just be a matter of circumstance. If a back marker gets in the way and creates an opening, maybe that's the way that he gets through.
Yeah, that's the reason I think that Anders is staying so close to Dave Miller. Because he doesn't want to make an attack to risk any stupid situation, but at the same time he thinks that if anything happens, he wants to be there to benefit, to capitalize on that.
Those of you about getting through, David Junt is up into 6th in the meantime.
Yep.
Yeah, he overtook Grant Riddle a bit ago, and it'll be interesting to see if he can close in on Janik at some point. Janik's got quite a... he's got over 15 seconds between himself and Junt, so we'll have to see how that pans out.
Those were 17 seconds some laps ago, so it seems that this group of 3 cars is going really quick. But Junt is distancing himself from Grant Riddle, and Little Al, there he goes. He really needs to make the pass and not lose David Junt, but Grant Riddle is one of those leg breakers. It's not going to be easy to pass him at all.
Yep, Grant's definitely going to be a challenge to get by, even if a car is not handling properly. I gotta say, Little Al has really come into his own with this mod. I mean, he started out the year having good results here and there, but I think it's fair to say he's really found his sea legs with this mod as of late.
Yeah, he seems happy to be driving them. The main problem for him is that he doesn't have all the time for practice that he would like between school and all the stuff that he is also doing.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree. That's the challenge when you're a student.
I'm just, for the record, giving some personal data of him because some people may not know, but he's a very accomplished drum player. He takes lessons in drumming, and he does a lot of drumming over the week, and well, that's something that also takes some time for him. He was also taking basketball. He was in part of a basketball team because he's a quite tall guy. But now that COVID has struck badly, the coach was with COVID some days ago, so he has... There you go.
Oh, look at this. Down the outside, Grant took a defensive posture, but this will be interesting. Coming into the corner, looks like Grant's going to defend it. Yeah, Grant pulls off a great defense going into the hairpin. Nice job.
Yeah, Little Al saw it coming. He gave him plenty of room. That's nice. So as I was saying, he also likes to play basketball, but that's not going on now because of COVID. Yeah. But he keeps playing the drums and he keeps driving here, and he is absolutely enjoying the season and looking forward to the next one.
We have a bit of information from the YouTube chat from Mike Olson. He reports that he was having a hardware problem all morning and he couldn't reliably downshift. So that's part of the reason why he's out of the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was puzzled to see him with that lack of pace because normally he's way higher up in the grid. So that explains it.
Unfortunately, on team who was involved in my off, I think he was the one who hit me after I had spun, has also retired from the race a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, it's this is a surprisingly high attrition race so far. I mean, we figured that we'd have a bunch of... Oh my goodness! Grant just had a very scary moment coming off of the turn before Brabham Straight. He was lucky to get away with that.
And he was lucky that Little Al had been trying to meanwhile lap Bruno Chacon, because otherwise with that error probably he would have lost the position.
Yeah, but look at this now. He's actually to Grant's credit, he hasn't let David Junt get too far away here. He's right with him.
I don't think we're going to discover right now what Grant's ability with car control is. Oh, David Junt goes into the pits. That's interesting.
Oh, yes, he's coming in. This should be his pit stop. Interesting. It's a bit early, if you ask me.
It is, yes. Probably he was on his own, either surprised by the tires not giving him as many laps as he wanted, or he simply made quite the opposite move. That is, he was able to stretch the laps way longer than he had at first expected for a two-stop strategy.
Difficult
Right.
to say, because I'd say that's somewhere in the middle of a two-stop and a one-stop strategy, so
Yep.
very interesting to watch what happens there.
Dave Miller has just set the fastest lap of the race.
Yep. And Little Al now is hunting Grand Riddle, and what you can see here is what happens with the heavy cars like the Brabham and McLaren. When they start losing weight because the fuel gets used,
Oh,
they
look
start
at
to
this.
come on their own.
Oh my goodness. Grant, is he going to get by here? No, Grant defends the position. Wow. Great racing. This is an excellent battle. Fun to watch. And yeah, you can see Grant still struggling with that car as they're coming up to Tomasz Matusek.
Grant really climbing up the walls to defend from that McLaren.
He is, and now hopefully Tomas can make room for them. He pulls across. Good job. But we'll see if Little Al can pull a similar move. He just didn't quite get all the way alongside as they were coming through there, but good clean driving from both of these gentlemen.
Yeah, and I think Little Al knows very well that the place to pass is the main straight, and he's probably going to try to make it there, being close enough to Grant. Not sure.
Oh my goodness! Look at how much he's closing though.
Surface. Grant making room there.
Oh man! Oh, dang!
And it's incredible how good Grant is at playing chicken.
Well, you gotta be willing to do that. I think we got some other people in the pits at this point.
Not yet, no.
No? Okay. But, yeah, I guess it probably had something to do with Yunt pitting. It had to do with a tire choice he wasn't happy with, but,
It's interesting to see how at the head of the race everything keeps going at the same... Well, everything is in the same situation. In fact, Anders is now maybe a bit further away from Dave Miller than he was before.
Yeah.
So he seems to be there silently waiting for any error on Dave Miller's part.
It's interesting to me that Grant has such a huge power deficit on Brabham Straight. It's almost, I think it's a combination of wings and just two less cylinders. Look at him now. He actually weaved to the right there to try to block, but then he comes back.
And now let's see. Okay, no.
Steve Parker now in front of these two. This is an exciting battle.
Yeah, because I think the McLaren needs some more laps of losing fuel to be able to really be competitive there on the braking against such an accomplished driver as Grant. But now, oh, there you go. Maybe Grant can be surprised if Little Al tries to do something in a place where Grant wouldn't expect it.
So you're thinking that he'll try to deal him a dummy, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, one thing is for sure, Grant cannot make the slightest error, because with the distance between both cars, that would mean that Little Al would be going by very quickly. But anyway, in this situation, I mean, they have tried it 3-4 times already in the main street, so Little Al needs to do something different if he wants to get by.
All right, here comes... Ray had a very
There's a
sketchy...
yellow flag somewhere. There's a yellow flag in sector 1.
And
Well,
there you go, Little Al now very swiftly.
Very well placed.
Very swiftly, look at
I
that.
think that's Miller who spun.
No!
Miller spun.
Oh no!
Third.
As Grant Riddle comes back on the inside, and there's contact between... Oh my goodness, there's contact between...
He lost it on the brakes.
Oh my goodness. Grant gets back going again. Where is Miller? Miller is in third place.
He span in the exact same spot. I don't know if that was contact or if he made a mistake, but
This
he
is a...
he half spun there.
Let's look at a replay because this has championship implications. My goodness.
He's very much next to David Yates, but he needs to take it likely now because he needs that second place. There is a lot of race still to go. But
let's see what happened here.
Past David Yates.
Oh, he went into a lazy slide there. My goodness, that's unfortunate. You think that there might have been? I mean, we're accustomed to Miller not cracking under pressure, but do you think that the pressure of having Nilsson there just started to get to him?
I don't know, maybe, but Nilsson was not doing any kind of aggressive moves or attack. He was waiting. Probably he was just waiting for this to happen because we are not even past half race. So Anders was not eager to attack yet, but maybe a slip of concentration or whatever in the part of Dave Miller. And with the speed of these cars, that's all it takes.
Well, this is high drama here because Miller, if he finishes in third, will not win the championship. It will go to Mikkola. So obviously we're not halfway yet, so there's a lot that can happen yet, but Miller definitely is going to be thinking about the implications of where he is, and he's going to have to either chase down Jakes or hope that he can overtake him in some kind of an overlap situation when he pits.
Yeah, he's quite close to David Jakes.
Yeah.
So it's not as if his championship options are away.
No,
but
not
he needs
yet.
to stay focused.
Yeah, it's he was incredibly lucky that he, A, did not damage the car in that spin because he's got walls on either side, and B, that he didn't involve himself with anybody else. So I think he should be breathing a sigh of relief right now, but he needs to get into second place again if he wants to have any hope of snatching the championship.
Yeah, and don't forget that Gabriele Del Piccolo is actually not that far behind him. He's only 4 seconds behind, so Miller needs to really not just keep an eye on overtaking David Jakes, but also defend from Gabriele. Because if he gets stuck behind David Jakes, and he seems to have more rhythm than David Jakes now, he could very well find himself now in a three-wheel battle that it's exactly the last thing that you would want to do.
It's the last thing he needs. If it were to end right now, Mikkola would win the championship by a single point.
Yep. Very much as Jochen de Vriend, he would be again another posthumous champion.
And I think we have our first scheduled one-stoppers in the pits, by the way. We have Keo McKeels and Grant Riddle into the pits.
Yes. Very early, because this is very strange. It doesn't sound like a 2 pit stop strategy, but they are in.
Yep, there they go. There's Grant exiting the pits.
Yep, 4 tire stop, lost 3 positions with that. Make that possibly 4 as... No, that's not for position, that's what's Del Piccolo, so 3 positions lost for him.
And, yeah, you can see David Jakes just ahead of Miller here, so yeah, it's... He has a shot here at getting back into second, and that would certainly have... it would flip the championship situation back the other way, so we'll see what happens here. We expected this would be a dramatic race, and it's certainly living up to advanced billing, both in terms of racing and in terms of points implications. We hope you're all enjoying this on YouTube. Our last race of the 1991 F1 Series, the Australian Grand Prix. Oh, look at this. I think Miller may have a shot here. Yes, he does. He's coming down the straight now, pulls alongside, and he's back into second place. So Miller is back where he needs to be if he wants to be champion. Now
yeah, David Jakes knows obviously that Miller had more pace and that the Williams is far superior, and putting up a fight right now, it was not really something sensible to do. And look at that. I mean, just in a few moments, Miller has already put some distance between him and Jakes.
Well, it looks like my prediction may come true here. We'll see. But,
well, there's 12 seconds between Nilsson and Miller, so my prediction could still be...
That's true. It could. It's not a competition, though. There's no money on the line. I haven't called my
but
bookie.
I think Miller has that feeling that he would like to win and clinch the championship. Oh, Little Al now hitting the barrier. Going sideways, he lost the front wing. What a
Oh, no! This is a sight we've seen too many times this year. A McLaren without a front wing. Oh, that means he's going to lose a lot of time.
It just caught him in the very close to the pit entrance. Probably his tires were totaled by now.
Miller's crabbing.
Oh, no, 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 no! Miller's got... Oh, my goodness, no, he's down to 4th. What happened?
He must have made a mistake. He must have hit the wall, possibly in the very fast right-hander onto the back straight.
No, no, no. He went over the curb. He did. Oh, he's lost his wings. Oh, no.
That's a good 120 seconds repair in the pit status.
Oh, my goodness.
And the car is crabbing in its own way, so that's suspension damage as well.
And Miller may have seen his championship hopes disappear. Incredible. Here he comes into the pits. And obviously, the race is not over yet, but I don't know. I mean, he's going to lose an incredible amount of time here, and as we've mentioned, he has to finish 2nd or better. He stops the car because this is going to take some time to repair. My goodness. Little Al out of the race as well. Apparently, more damage was done than just to the wing.
Yep. And it's now Thiago Canola and David John fighting for the 6th position. David John just got by Thiago Canola.
Oh my goodness.
And Miller taking the repairs there. 5th position for him now, but...
The silence in the Williams pit is deafening.
There
my goodness.
comes David John and Thiago Canola. There's 2 positions more that he's going to lose.
The only way that this is going to... My goodness. Miller is going to have to drive like a man possessed if he wants to get back into the points, but the longer he sits here, the longer it's going to take to get there, and the less likely it is, unfortunately. Yep, Grant just overtaking now to go into 8th place.
And Tim Hill also.
I suppose the one good thing, if one wants to look at it that way, is that that's his one and only stop.
Whoa, another car there in the
amount of
wall.
laps
This
that's-
was Keijo Mikiels. Yeah, Keijo Mikiels, that gear is totaled against the wall. No front wheel, no front wing.
Oh my goodness. How did this happen?
And also a puncture.
Well, he had a
There
moment.
you go, spinning again. What a shame he quit.
When Miller now exiting the pits with a very
Oh.
crabbing car, unfortunately. That's not looking like a nice car to drive. Sorry to say.
Yeah, KO definitely. I mean, we've seen some incidents that are like this in these turns, and unfortunately, this is just another one where you get to the. Oh yeah, he's got a puncture as well, and KO was out of the race at this point. So, and Miller has exited the race. Miller is a DNF. I guess he's decided that that the car was simply not. Oh, he had another incident on the way out of the pits. He spun the car coming out, so clearly something went wrong there. So whatever it was could not be repaired by the Williams mechanics, and he just climbs right over the... My goodness. Well, it's sad to see it end that way. We would have preferred to see a fight right up until the end, but ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Drivers' Championship. Pascal Mikola has won in absentia the 1991 Formula One World Championship.
So it seems that quitters can indeed win.
Apparently.
Even if they whine a lot about the car they get and all that.
Well, I'm sure that Dave is pretty miserable right now, and I'm sure that the Dave Miller fan club has seen better days, but they can take heart in knowing that Dave was fighting right up until the end, and he had some spectacular drives in this series, and we're really anxious to see what he's going to be doing next year.
Yeah, and what the hell? He did a great impersonation of Nigel Mansell, didn't he?
I'd say he did.
Unlucky Mansell, but respected by everyone.
Yeah. Well,
there'll be another year.
There will be another year for him. Well, we do have a race going on still. And Anders Nilsson is in the lead. David Jakes is in second. He's quite a distance back, though, about 15 seconds. Del Piccolo running in third. And we'll see if Del Piccolo can... Actually, he's running with his teammate now, Tim Hilla, who is a lap down, and he lets him go through. And we've got word from the pits, too, from KO on his car. The suspension was damaged in that spin. It was undrivable, which I think we can assume was a similar situation for Miller. But, yeah, not a lot of room in between these concrete walls when something goes wrong. Janik has been quite fortunate here. He's moved all the way up to fourth with all these retirements. And I have to say, I'm not surprised. This is the kind of track that I think Janik would excel at. Coming up now to lap Steve Parker. Janik's another guy who's had a really nice year. My friend from Detroit. He and I
there goes David Jakes coming out of the pits now after his regular pit stop.
Yes, he's dropping to third now, and it looks like this will be interesting because I don't think that Janik's been in the pits yet, so it's not like Janik is going to be able to overhaul him for third necessarily. He's got to make a stop at some point as well. Jakes, of course, was our champion in the USAC series. Very dramatic finish. Well, not really dramatic, but he won by making it mathematically impossible for Slipinski to close on him at the last race.
Was now on his regular pit stop also. And we are, well, close to half the race, so pit stops are going to start happening for those who were on a pit stop strategy. And Gabriele Del Piccolo now in second place, although he hasn't stopped yet, I think.
No, he hasn't, and it'll be interesting to see what Yua can do, because from what I heard from pre-race at least, he's looking to possibly run softs for this second half of the race.
I would think that a lot of people would do something like that, because it would give them an opportunity to go quicker on a lower fuel load later on in the race. But here's Juha as we're seeing him from a chopper shot. It is interesting what you were talking about before, Alberto, about Juha managing to wrestle excellent races out of mediocre cars. It is something that does tend to happen with him.
It does.
Yeah.
So Thiago seems to be now also signaling the pit entry, probably going in next lap. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with David Junt, who is doing an excellent race so far. He's in fifth position, but remember, he had a very early pit stop. He's going to need a second one. Whereas in the case of Thiago, whom he was fighting with, Thiago seems to be clearly going for a single pit stop. Many people now signaling pit stops. Gabriele Del Piccolo, Brian Janik, Thiago Canola is in the pits.
Yep, Canola making his stop from sixth
There
place.
comes Gabriele Del Piccolo.
Jakes has already been closing in by 2-3 seconds here, so Jakes making the tires work for him.
Yep, Del Piccolo pitting from second place, so yeah, lots of action in the pits right now.
Let's see, he now loses the position to David Jakes.
Jakes got some traffic as well to work with, as Yannick is into the pits as well.
Yeah, neither Gabriele nor David Jakes have to do another pit stop. So it's going to be, they're going to fight it out on the track now. We'll see what the pace of Gabriele is, but they are only 9 seconds apart, so we'll see, because there's still half the race to go.
And I believe we have Dave Miller in the green room. If you gentlemen will give me a second, I'll bring him in here for a post-race interview. We're joined now by Dave Miller. Dave, very sorry to see you exit the race the way you did. I'm sure you're not in the brightest of moods right now, but take us through what happened there.
Thanks, Jason. Well, just lost it on that big curve coming onto the back straight, and that did irreparable damage to the suspension. I tried to recover it back to the pits, but there's nothing the Williams guys could do. So that's that. It's a shame it's got to come to an end like that, but hey ho, it wasn't meant to be this year. So I'm just going to have to come back next year and try and do it all again.
Well, there were lots of people pulling for you in the chat, but yeah, that is the way it goes sometimes. And you put together a lot of excellent races this calendar year, so I don't think you have anything to be ashamed about at all. So I'm sure you're looking forward to next year, and definitely we have that open race that's going to be happening for the Lucas Vidra Trophy to finish it up. I don't know if you have been told about this, but we're going to do STW racing to finish up that championship. That should be fun.
Ooh, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as a final thought, I would just like to extend a massive thank you to everyone who's made this series possible. At the start of the year, I would have been happy just to be fighting for the occasional top 6. To go on and win 4 races and bring the championship to the wire has been incredible. I just want to say my thanks to everyone at ISO who's put on such an awesome season, everyone who's watching on YouTube, and just everyone who's raced this year for making it what it's been. It's fantastic. So thank you to everyone.
We have to thank you for bringing the spectacle and having given us such entertaining moments. And I also should say, we've already mentioned that in the broadcast before you join us, that you have done a great impersonation of Nigel Mansell, in that you have been unlucky but well respected by everybody. And I think that's a fitting end. If you can clean the championship, you go there with the hopes of doing it next year, being positive as you just did. So, man, I just have to congratulate you. You did very well. I mean, sometimes the outcome is not what one would expect, but what the hell? You did a great season, Dave, and I'm really happy to shake your hand in that regard.
Thank you. Absolutely. I've matched that across the wires of the internet. Thanks.
It appears that Grant Riddle is also out of the race. We missed that, but we also saw on screen that Nilsson made his 1 pit stop, and he is now in the lead. Past half distance, and it looks like he's on course to, if he can keep things together, bring Benetton another win in the 91 series, but he does have Del Piccolo behind him, and I wouldn't count him out just yet. The gap is 25 seconds. We'll see what'll happen going forward here.
And unfortunately, someone who was fighting for possible points here today, Ray Riddle, is on his way into the pits again. With a lost front wing for himself, so something must have happened to him in the last lap and a half.
Yeah, I think maybe from the previous accident he got some kind of damage. I don't know. The McLaren is certainly not the easiest car to drive, so...
Can I just add something else a little there, gents? Also, before she slaps me, I just want to extend my thanks to Angel May as well for putting up with my strange virtual racing car hobby and being so supportive.
Well, you do, and I already said it. You're a great impersonation of Nigel Mansell, and I think one of the things where you also are that great impersonation is having a great woman also side by side with you.
Yes, she is certainly a keeper in my eyes, and I hope you both will enjoy a lot of years together.
Thanks, I'm sure we will.
Curiously, Ray Riddle is still circulating the track without a front wing. It may be one of these situations where he can't see it from his point of view?
No, he has signaled the pits, but apparently he went by the pits for whatever reason, and he's probably going to hold it off for one more lap.
We can say with confidence that he doesn't have a puncture because he's able to keep rolling at a pretty good clip now.
Well, this is a track where we've seen that before, and it seems that the cars can somehow keep a moderate pace without even the front wing. So it's very much the case of him probably trying to go one more lap and then pitting in, if he missed the pit for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I don't know if you'd like to hang around a bit, but if you'd like, we can deposit you back in the main channel. So It's up to you.
Oh,
Ray runs wide.
Yeah, he understeers, obviously, too much lack of front downforce.
Yeah.
Very much well timed to let Brian Janik by.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I'll drop back to the main channel, please.
All right, well, thank you for dropping in here. You're a class act, Dave. And appreciate your time, and we'll wish you better luck in 2021.
Thank you. I'll certainly enjoy the rest of the race.
Okay, thanks, man. So that was Dave Miller, who exited the race a bit ago, and unfortunately that was his shot at the championship gone. Pascal Mikola has been declared the 1991 F1 champion based on points that he has accumulated to this juncture. And Ray has continued to circulate the track without a front wing. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, he's already gotten the message by race control to pit next time by, because it's a bit unsafe to go like that on track.
Yeah.
But he is 33 seconds in front of Juha Boss, who is in 9th position, so he should be able to basically get into the pits, get new tires, get a front wing, and come out defending his 8th position, or even keeping it.
So Gabriel Del Piccolo soldiering on, and he's got about a 17-second gap between himself and David Jakes. So with the pit stops done, it'll be interesting to watch these gaps and see if anything changes. Nilsson was able to make his stop and get out without any trouble. So we'll see what happens. That gap is opening up. Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
I don't know if it's been mentioned, but I noticed Jakes has both slightly closed in on Anders Nilsson by a few seconds since the pit stops, and he's opened up another. That's about 8 seconds on Del Piccolo behind him. So David definitely doing a good job in this second half of the race.
Yeah, he is. It'll be interesting to see how this closes up, because we definitely have a long way to go still. There's some 30 laps to go in change in the race, so I'll have to watch and see what happens here. This is probably a good time to go to the trivia question, I would think. You gentlemen ready for that?
Certainly.
We're ready to fail again.
Oh, come on. All right. So the trivia question was, McLaren and Ferrari share the record for most Australian Grand Prix wins by a constructor with 12 apiece. Who is next on this list with 6 wins? Is it A, Cooper, B, Williams, or C, Lola?
I'd probably guess that it's A.
Okay, time is up. What about you, Alberto?
I think Jonatan is right, but I'll go with Williams just to say something different.
And you're correct, Alberto. It was Williams.
There you go.
80, 85, 89, and then 94 to 96, and that means, Jonathan, you are wrong. So,
you see, one man's unlucky situation is the other man's fortune.
Yep. Back to the race.
Back to the race, where things are actually as they were before, with Anders Nilsson some 14 seconds into the lead. There is then David Jakes and Gabriele Del Piccolo third.
Yeah, Del Piccolo. Yeah, the gap between Jakes and Del Piccolo is actually increasing now. It's up to some 20 seconds. So you could chalk that up a bit to traffic, but we'll see if Gabriel's able to close. I think the real interesting thing is going to be, can Jakes reel in the leader before the race is done? 15 seconds is the gap now. We'll see.
Yeah,
Janik?
The closest fight right now is Riddle, that has done his repairs and is now trying to get his position back from Juha Boss, who was able to get by while Rai was stopped in the pits for repairs. Obviously, the McLaren is a way quicker car, but Rai is now climbing the walls, and it seems to be some kind of small damage in the car, so it's not the quick car it should be. Going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, the cars are pretty well spread out now, it appears. You do have Yunt trying to close on... Oh, no, that was another Brabham. My apologies.
Oh, and there's Bruno Chacon and Thomas Matusek actually fighting for position, and Thomas just got by.
Yeah, Matusek has gotten by Bruno Chacon. This is a battle for position, and I don't think it's over yet, because Bruno has got the Renault RS3B engine, and he's right there with Thomas. So get some TV time here for these two. Battle for 11th place. You can hear that angry Brabham Yamaha engine. Yep, Bruno definitely wants that position back if he can do it.
Seems to be able to follow that Brabham pretty well through the corners. If the distance is like that when they arrive to the corner before the main straight, well, the back stretch actually, it's going to be quite hairy for Thomas.
So here comes Bruno. He's going to try it. Well, Bruno had kind of a hairy exit there from Stag.
That
so I
killed
don't...
the momentum before this corner, which is the important one.
We'll see here the horsepower difference between the Yamaha V12 and the Renault V10.
Yeah, although Thomas seems to have some rather low wings and is defending himself very well here.
He must. Because just because the Yamaha engine has 12 cylinders does not mean that it is necessarily a strong engine. It's actually lacking in power.
Whereas Riddle is already very close to Juha Boss. That's something that was to be expected, given the differences of cars. And it's the irony because Juha Boss is going to see his own former car overtaking him.
Yep, there's Juha.
Setting him up here.
Oh, this should be rather academic, I would think.
Yep.
Yep, there he goes. Yep, that was relatively simple. And Tim Hille there behind them is actually a lap ahead. I'm sorry, Gabriel Del Piccolo is a lap ahead, sorry. But look at this, Juha is not giving up. They've got the blue flag here because of Del Piccolo, which makes this more complicated, but we'll see what happens here. Juha is going to make room for Del Piccolo here, I'm sure. Yes, he does. And now it's going to be Ray's turn to make room.
And Thomas Matusek has been able to put some distance between him and Bruno, so that fight is over, at least for now.
Okay. And now we get a good look at the interesting cockpit of the footwork, which has almost like a yoke as a steering wheel. Clearly cut off at the top so that you can see the gauges without too much trouble. So I guess the footwork does not get an A in human factors.
Well, we were just beyond the era of the Knight Rider and all that, so I guess that was the fashion of the time.
Uh-huh.
And Bruno Chacon has been through the pits, so I didn't see whether he stopped or not.
Well, maybe he was dealing with some kind of damage along the way. Did he actually stop or did he just cruise through?
I didn't actually see whether he stopped or not. I haven't seen if there's been a penalty given out either, but through the pits he's gone anyway.
Okay. And Bruno is the last car running in this race. 12 cars left running out of the 25 that started, so it's been a race of attrition.
Yeah, it was to be expected in a circuit like this on a street track.
And the gap between Jakes and Nilsson has increased a little bit at 17 seconds, so I think Nilsson's gotten his second win now. So, yeah, but Nilsson definitely has gotten on with this car like a house on fire this year. Of course, too late to challenge for the championship, but it definitely makes you wonder what's going to be going on next year. He's certainly going to be interested in doing F1 86. And,
one must say that next year is going to be so very different from this year because, for example, you had here absolutely no fuel concerns. I mean, all the cars were very well trimmed for being able to go all the race flat out in terms of fuel. You had to manage your tires, but that was about the main concern that you had. Whereas in next year, we're going to be diving head-on into the turbo era, and that means, despite what many people would think, actually being limited in fuel consumption. It's going to be a struggle to manage the most you can out of your engine while keeping the fuel, both in the 86 cars and also in the USAC cars. So don't think for a moment that what you're seeing this year is going to be completely telling of what you might see next year. Qualifying will be one thing, but the race will be a different one. And you see, we were talking about this in our chat the other day. Alain Prost could not have cared less about the pole position or stepping up high in the grid in 86. Instead, he was very much concerned with having the best situation in the race with fuel consumption and all that. And that's going to show up also next year.
For sure.
Those of us who have been testing the 86 cars have noted that the McLaren in particular feels very much like you would think it would feel. A very even handling car. Very forgiving.
Yeah, tending to understeer as Alain Prost liked them. That was a very good team he made there with John Barnard, who was the designer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And they got a car that absolutely suited perfectly what Alain Prost wanted of it. Once Senna joined the team, well, there was a different story. There was a struggle there for power, including the design of the car. But as far as 86 is concerned, well, Alain Prost had a certainly very soft handling car, the way that he liked, and well, we still need to see with our entry list who lands that right.
Yeah, historically, that car was designed for the driving habits, not only of Alain Prost, but also of Niki Lauda.
Yep.
And once it became clear that Barnard was leaving McLaren to join Ferrari, things changed there as far as the approach. But definitely Rosberg was not happy with that car. It did not suit his style of driving where you throw the car into the corner. And I think that'll be interesting because one thing you definitely try to do when you're making a mod is you're trying to emulate the real life cars as best you can. Unless it's a league mod, which we are not fans of. But I think people will be pleasantly, well, not surprised, but I think they'll be really thrilled with the results that we have so far in testing with 86, because I think I can speak at least from the point of view of driving the McLaren that yeah, the I think it's definitely a situation of the McLaren being designed in such a way that it's for smooth driving and not so much attacking the corner style as Rosberg is. And I think that the physics that Richard Wilkes has come up with so far definitely reflect that. And that's what you want to do if you're doing a mod that's not a league mod but a historical one. So we're anxious.
Yeah, and you can see that because the cars, and there is some videos, speaking of Adelaide, there are some very nice onboard videos, and you can see that the cars were absolutely not going sideways, crazy, losing traction or anything like that. They were cars with a lot of traction, and they were driven in a very soft manner because of they were not going to kill the tires, kill the fuel consumption, or destroy the races stupidly. Those cars were rigged for traction, they were rigged for some smooth driving, and that's what you got. Of course, once you crank up the boost and you go for the qualifying lap, that's something very different. Those are beasts that you need to tame. But in the race stream, I think we will be gladly surprised by how nice those cars are actually to drive. If you are not doing stupid things, you should be able to do long distance races quite easily.
Yes, was going to say Ray Riddle has unfortunately retired.
Yeah, it seems both McLarens are out. Well, not the greatest finish of the season, but
I think I'm fairly sure in saying that will have been a very tricky car to drive around here with how much power that engine has.
Yeah, no question.
I mean, the V10 Yad that I had in the Dallara was tricky enough to get the power in, so I'm very happy I wasn't in that one of those McLarens with another 200 horsepower, give or take.
So that elevates several people. Boss is up to 8th place now. Hill is 7th. He'll bring Parker up to 9th. Matusik to 10th, and Chacon to 11th. 11 cars running at this point. David Yunt turning in another solid drive, the kind that we expect from him.
yeah, he's the kind of guy who doesn't do anything spectacular in the race, but he's always there at the end, picking points, picking podiums and all that. Probably a good impersonation of Al Unser if he would be doing American racing.
Well, that provided me an excellent segue to talk about next week. Since things have pretty much calmed down here, we can talk about what's coming up next week at ISO. And we've got our USAC broadcaster in the booth with us as well. Closing out the series next week, the Arizona 150. Jonatan, we started the series there. We're ending the series there. Championship is wrapped up. What are your thoughts going into the final race of the 74 USAC series?
Well, I think the most interesting thing will be who has learned the most over the full series, with everyone being somewhat new to the cars when we went to Phoenix last time out. Now it'll be interesting to see who can maximize their car and their driving for that particular track and layout, where you have a lot of stuff going on and it can be quite tricky.
Alberto?
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true, because this is the second race here. We don't have that many races that repeat themselves. We had Trenton, we had Milwaukee and Michigan, but this Phoenix is going to be the one that is longer away, and we will see how much the cars have changed, the drivers have changed and everything. There is a second opportunity for Cesarius, who had very unfortunate disconnection in the first race, and I'm sure that after his dominant performance at Trenton, he's going to end the season with a good taste in his mouth. So looking forward to that also.
Yeah, it should be an exciting race for sure. And then we're ending the LVT Lucas Vidra Trophy with a couple of touring car races, super tourers, at the Salzburg Ring. Jonatan, I'm sure you're looking forward to this.
I certainly am. It's one of my heart's one of the cars that's close to my heart, a set of cars that's close to my heart, and that track particularly proved to offer some very, very good racing when we went a couple of years ago when we did STW outright, and I can't help but think that we'll see even better racing with more drivers more used to the cars now than what we had back then. So it will be a very close one to finish out that particular series, and hopefully making Lucas proud with what we will be showing there.
Hear, hear.
And excuse me, back to the racing now. There seems to be now a situation developing here with Tim Hille and Juha Boss. Tim Hille was lapping Bruno Chacon, too eager because he knew Juha Boss is behind. He hit slightly Bruno Chacon, and now has Juha Boss right on his toes.
Interesting.
Tim seems to be having some damage in his car, because otherwise you cannot explain his pace. He was going much quicker at the beginning of the race, and Juha Boss is taking the most advantage out of this situation.
Want to give a shout out too to Tim Hille for another reason besides his driving. He's taken over the Discord channel for ISO, volunteered to do that because this is another side effect of Pascal's withdrawal from ISO. But we appreciate Tim's help where that's concerned, because it's that I don't spend a lot of time on Discord myself, but from what I understand, it's a helpful part of the of our communication here and there. It's not the official communication of the series by any means, but it's nice to have that there as another outlet. So now Hille is pulling away from Boss, so I don't know. That was maybe just a momentary bobble on his part. We'll see if...
maybe that crash or small touch with Bruno Chacon fixed his car. It's a funny situation that has happened sometimes in the real races. I don't remember exactly what driver it was, but I distinctly remember that in one NASCAR race there was a driver who had been hit by another car and then bruised the wall, and that seemed to fix his car. So from then on the car went on much better.
It's been known to happen. It's not impossible.
But it is somewhat uncommon.
Of course, now Juha has to deal with the leader coming up behind him. He's got the blue flag from the marshals, and here comes Nilsson by.
Yeah, and I should say, speaking of Nilsson, that his lead to David Jacks has been reduced considerably. It's now only 13 seconds.
I think, to be fair to Anders, I think he's looking after the brakes a little bit. The brakes were somewhat on the limit.
Actually, 11 seconds right now.
Oh, goodness. Well, I think Jonatan brings up a good point, and that is that, looking after the brakes is critical here.
10 seconds.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we have a race on our hands. Who knows? We'll keep an eye on that. Oh, Juha going right over the curbs in the first turn. He's got to be careful with that footwork. Footwork hasn't had much to smile about this year, but it'd be nice to see them bring home a top 10 finish in the closing round. Look good for their sponsors, Blaupunkt, the speaker people, and
Blaupunkt. Those are very nice radios, I must say.
Yes,
I think they are no longer I'm not sure if they are any longer a German company, or if they've been bought out by a Chinese company, as was the case with, I think, Philips and many other very important marks in Europe. But I distinctly remember that my grandfather, who absolutely loved anything that had to do with sound, music and all that, he had a Blaupunkt radio in his car, and I'm speaking about the 70s.
Oh, man.
And it was amazing how that thing sounded. It was so different from any other radio. It sounded so crisp and clear and beautiful that you wouldn't believe it. And I became a Blaupunkt fan ever since then.
Well, now you got me wanting to get my hi-fi out of storage and get my LPs running again. But because it's been a while since I've worked with that stuff. I've been so busy with other things. But at any rate, yeah, we're watching Nilsson here. The gap now in where I'm seeing it is 15 seconds. So it's
up to 13 on my screen on the timing. But anyway, yeah, it has been probably a consequence of the lapped cars, because at some point Yates also found them and lost some seconds there.
Yeah.
But looking at the lap times and the pace, David Yates has been ever so slightly coming close. He's very well under 19 seconds now. He's doing 118 point something. The problem with the last lap, he did 121, and that's because of the lap traffic. But he was doing very solid low 118s, and that's what has allowed him to get closer to Anders Nilsson, who had been doing 120, 121, 119. On the last lap, he responded with the same lap time as David Yates. But, well, that's been a single lap, and we'll see how that pans out.
Getting down to the closing stages of the Australian Grand Prix. If you're just joining us, the championship has been determined. It goes to Pascal Mikola, who has left the series but amassed enough points to take the championship, even though he is not here. Dave Miller had a chance to possibly snatch the championship from him, but a couple of incidents precluded that from occurring. We are now watching David Jakes, who is in second place and trying to close on the leader, but it's, as Alberto just expertly pointed out, that traffic is turning it into a bit of a seesaw situation with the gap, and it's hard to tell, really, if one car has the upper hand over the other one at this moment. Once they get some clean air, it'll be probably easier to tell. But we're closing down on the final laps here in the Australian Grand Prix. And we'll see if Nilsson can preserve that gap and go on to collect another win for the Benetton team. Del Piccolo is in third. Janik is in fourth. David Yunt, in another spectacular drive, is in fifth. Tiago Canola, sixth, after starting so far back in the LaRousse. That's pretty impressive. Tim Hilla, seventh. That's a great recovery drive for him. Juha Boss. Jakes was... That's interesting. What's going on here? Jakes had a rather curious... He let Juha go through there. I'm not sure what's going on here. Could he be having issues with the car of some kind? Momentarily?
Very tricky to say.
Now he's going back by him again. Something must have just distracted him in the cockpit there for a second. But he looked like he was having a bit of a lurid moment at the hairpin. Let's look at a replay of this, see if we could see what happened. It just barely caught my eye. Perhaps it was a lockup of some kind? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, he was in the process of lapping Juha. Let's look at it from on board. And he goes to brake for the corner. And the car just runs wide for some reason, and Juha gets back by. I'm not sure. Strange miscue there. And now Jakes has gone off the track. He went off the track at the turn before Brabham Straight. So clearly,
it seems that he's running out of brakes.
Something is not right with this car. Yeah, I'm thinking it's brake issues he's having, because
again another spot missed. He turned very late into that corner. He needs to be very careful about it.
Yeah, and of course, with this happening, the gap is going up between himself and Nilsson. Yeah, I think your analysis is probably spot on. He's got brake issues, brake fade. So if he wants to bring that car to the finish, he's going to have to be very gingerly with it, which means Nilsson can probably put a lot more distance between himself. But the other question is, can Gabriel Del Piccolo capitalize on this?
Yes, because that's the other situation. I mean, if you are having brake problems, that's one of the things that, well, pardon the pun, slows you down the most.
Yeah, Gabriel, up to this point, did not seem to have the car to close in on Jakes, but he'll probably be looking at the timing chart. He can see it just as easily as we can. Obviously, he's got other things on his mind, like driving the car, but as we look at a really nice chopper shot of the gorgeous Jordan J191, he might start to smell the blood in the water, as Alberto said earlier, and might be a chance for him to get second place. We'll see.
Not to mention that this is something that could hit anybody, including the race leader. So, I mean, there's still like 14 laps to go, and anything can happen, and usually does in Formula One.
Yeah, one thing I've learned over the years with Formula One is to not leave your TV set when you think everything is pretty much done and dusted, because that's usually when stuff happens.
Yeah, I think everybody knows, I've told it sometimes here in the broadcast, there's a quote by a Spanish bullfighter that became something that we used to say here, and it's a bull till the end of the tail. And the quote comes from the fact that once the bull went by the bullfighter, with the tail waving, he hit him in the eye. and damaged the bullfighter, and the bullfighter had to quit, and well, he needed surgery and all that, and he said exactly that. I mean, bulls are dangerous, and it's a bull up till the last point of the tail. It can hurt you. And so is with the races, especially here in Formula One. I mean, you can lose it even in the last yard before the finish in the last lap.
Jake seems to be adjusting his driving style to suit what's wrong with the car, which we would expect him to do.
Yeah, but the distance to Gabriele Del Piccolo is now only 14 seconds.
Yeah, he's lost a considerable amount of time there, so we could be looking at a battle for, if not, we're not going to see a battle for the win, but we may see an excellent scrap for second place here in the closing laps.
Yeah, he's now a good full second slower than he was before, at 1:19.6. Whereas in the case of Gabriele Del Piccolo, he's doing very quick 1:18s. He was actually doing 1:19s, but it seems that the smell of blood in the water got to him. And he's now going very, very quickly. He is going a full second quicker than he was before. He dropped the pace down to 1:18.5, and he's gaining about 1 full second per lap on David Yates.
My goodness, this is going to set up for a really interesting finish.
Yep, strategy at its best.
Brian Janik, the Detroit Demon, still soldiering on in fourth place. He's had an excellent series in these cars, and that's saying a lot considering he's been driving both series, USAC and Formula One, and putting a lot of effort into both series. A lot of times...
You never know, because with David Yates struggling with the brakes and Gabriele Del Piccolo hitting them hard in his effort to get to David Yates, if any of those two has to abandon the race because of the brakes, you could see the Detroit Demon getting another podium.
I'll be really curious to see what car he ends up in next year. I would assume he's also going to do USAC, but it'll be curious to see what he chooses. And as I mentioned before, Yunt in fifth place, not really surprising to me because, you know, it's a typical drive from him. Starts about mid-pack and then slowly works his way up. I would argue that this is one of the traits that he has that makes him so good at 500-mile races in USAC. He takes the long view very well.
Well, you know, he came basically from endurance racing. That's where his heart is. He absolutely loves that thing, and you can see why. Because if there is someone in the field who knows how to pace himself, that's David Yunt.
Yep, no question. And Canola, who is driving in the last points paying position in sixth place, looking very good in this LaRousse. He's not been able to really drive as consistently in terms of participation this year. A lot of personal stuff going on that has been distracting him, but when he is here, he drives really, really well. Here he is in this very angry-sounding LaRousse as he goes on to Brabham Straight. See what his speed tops out at here. 165. Just 168, so not the quickest car in the world, but he's giving it a good ride in sixth place.
Well, what that car does do is be very consistent and very nice on power delivery, so around here I think that's a very nice car to drive. As I noticed, that's Juha Boos on a bit of a slow line coming onto the start-finish straight.
Uh-oh, it appears that... Oh, Juha has gone off the track. You see him there. Oh, my goodness! Oh, shoot! That was that was rather awkward, but thankfully no damage done to either car. But Juha, I think, might have a problem there. It looks like he might have a flat tire, perhaps. Yeah, it looks like his right rear is flat. Alberto, what do you think?
I'm looking at it right now. Tires don't seem to be sinking on the track, but it could be that one of the brakes is dead. We will see, because he's certainly not stopping, and his speed is not that of a flat tire. So
Yeah,
I would think that maybe one of the brakes has failed. I don't know, or maybe simply one of the tires was too hot, and because of that, the car was behaving funny.
Oh my goodness, he runs right
No,
off
he's
the
making
line.
room for Brian Jennings now.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens when he gets to the end of Brabham Straight here. It's clearly not an engine problem. You can see how oh goodness, he's having
there's braking problems.
He has brake issues of some kind. And the way that the car kind of lurched there as he was coming in tells me that you may be right. It's like one of the brake discs that's giving up.
And the problem for him is that if one of them has given up and he's got 10 odd laps to go, he will need to be very careful so he doesn't lose another one.
So we'll see what he does here. I mean, I don't think there's really any point in going to the pits because it's not like they can replace a brake disc. So we'll see what happens here if he can get the car under control. And it's definitely not an engine problem. The car is revving fine. Yeah, this has all the hallmarks of brake issues. He's having to coast it through the corners way earlier. Oh my goodness! Yeah, now he's going down he's made a trip down the escape road. He's going to have to back up here, and there's David Jakes going by. And Juha's being a good sportsman here and waiting for a good and safe gap to get back into the race. But while he's doing this, his engine is overheating because there's no air going through. These cars do not have onboard fans of any kind, so they rely exclusively on the air passing through the radiator to keep the car cool. So he can't stop like that too many more times before the engine will start to have problems.
12 seconds between Jakes and Gabriele Del Piccolo now. The distance is diminishing slowly but steadily.
Yeah, poor Juha here. I don't know what more he can do except just drive slowly to finish, because if he's lost a disc, it doesn't look like it's a matter of him simply cooling the brakes for a bit and then driving more. He's just going to try to nurse it to the end as best he can.
Yeah, he can, because the 9th place position, which is Steve Parker, it's a full lap behind.
Oh, there you go.
Car, so it should give him enough leeway to try to make it and finish the race. Whoa, you have missing now again a corner. Well, there's obviously no rear brakes on that car.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. All the braking's being done with the fronts at this point.
Which means extra load for the fronts, and probably easier for them to brake also.
Yeah, indeed, the wear on the front brakes will basically double at this point.
11 seconds between Jakes and Del Piccolo now.
My goodness. So, yeah, here's a chopper shot of Del Piccolo as he's coming through the left-right switch back to Stag Turn.
Jakes locking now the brakes into the hairpin. 10 seconds between him and Del Piccolo.
Well, it's coming down very rapidly here. And we have less than, let's see, we have, I believe, 8 laps to go in the race now, based on the count here. So Bruno Chacon is the next car in line in front of Del Piccolo. So we'll see if he's able to, we'll see as he crosses the line what the time is here. But, yeah, Jake's definitely driving with a damaged braking system of some kind, or an overheating one. Chacon taking a line that probably was not helpful to Del Piccolo. I don't think he was expecting him to go that way. Del Piccolo now goes up the inside, gets Bruno.
That's hurt, because the distance is up to 12 seconds now.
Yeah, that certainly would have added to the
cushion. But I think Del Piccolo's hopes are really with Jakes having a meltdown in his brakes. Not so much on catching up on him on raw pace, but on the brakes finally giving up the ghost.
Yeah, Jake's definitely, he's running wide again. Whoops, so he's having he's having a really hard time hauling that car to a stop.
Very dramatic end to the race for him. Fortunately for him, I mean, the third position in the podium should be safe, even if he loses the second to Gabriele Del Piccolo. But it's a tough call to do now, because with 7 laps to go, obviously Jakes wants to stay there.
And it's also a case in the team's championship, because I think if Jakes... I don't know the exact points, but I know Jakes needs to finish second or third to take the Constructors' crown.
Yeah. Currently, Braun Tyrrell Honda is in the lead with 65 points, and Scuderia Italia is in second with 63. So if Jakes finishes where he is, that will give him 6 points and elevate Scuderia Italia to the Constructors' Championship. So yeah, this definitely has implications. To be fair, if he drops to third, he'll still clinch the championship because it'll bring him to 67 points. There are no Tyrrells in the points right now, and there are no Williams in the points right now either. So really, the only team that can score points in this situation is Dallara. So absolutely, Jakes wants to win the Constructors' Championship for his team.
That could be a nice end to it, with winning the USAC Championship and then the Constructors' Championship here at least.
He started the year driving for Brabham and then moved over there when he found the Brabham just wasn't working out for him, and had some good drives here with Dallara. So we'll see what happens here if he's able to soldier home.
Well, so far he's able to keep Gabriele at a constant distance. Probably Gabriele also realizing that the brakes might go south on him.
Well, he's watching the time chart, I'm sure, as he's circulating, glancing at it when he can. He's coming up on his teammate now, Tim Hilla, who is 7th place, just outside the points.
A shame that Tim got some damage in the car, because otherwise he had been showing some really great pace in these last races.
Yeah, he has been.
He has good promise for next year, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah, he does. You can see there the difference between the two Jordans, other than the
yellow flag there. You have us with the brakes in the absolute end.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's going to be tough for him to make it till the end.
There goes Gabriel around his teammate. I was going to say, you can see the difference there. That's how they tell the...
Interesting. David Young is signaling pits now. Remember that he did a very early stop.
He's off the track now. He's run clear into the gravel trap, and he's trying to reverse.
And David Jant is into the pits.
Oh.
Of course, he had done a very early pit stop. Now he needs to do a second one. Let's see what happens now.
Canola's closing.
They were fighting it together. But yeah, the distance should be more than enough.
There he goes. Yeah, he should be okay. Yeah, Canola's just now exiting Brabham Straight, so he's got more than enough space to make it up. So that's
he meets Juha out of the track. What a surprise.
Well, there you go. I mean, he did pit kind of early, we figured, and it turned out it was very early, so had to make 2 stops.
It worked out for him at least.
It did.
So 10 seconds now between David Jakes and Gabriele Del Piccolo, although if things stay like this, it shouldn't be... Oh, David Jakes again missing the braking points. He's probably crossing the fingers big time to make it till the end of the race, because no, the distance is now below 10 seconds, 9.7 and decreasing.
Yeah, this is getting critical, because I think the point that you made earlier about all of that braking stress now being on the front two, that's what it appears is happening, and if that's the case, the brake wear is just going to increase exponentially there.
And he's got 2 more laps to go, I think.
He does. Well, he's got 79, 80, and 81, 3 laps to go. Remember
he's really braking early
Remember
now.
that remember Jonatan,
indeed.
Yeah, the number up there is a lap we are on, not the laps completed.
Indeed,
So.
I never learned that.
Whatever the case, with every braking point that David Jakes comes on, there is a chunk of time that he's losing to Gabriele, and that's very evident.
Well, time's running out, though. It may be that Gabriel has the card to take second place, but not the amount of time to do it. As you can see on the clock,
Unless there is a catastrophic brake failure.
Yes.
And that's something that is like a Russian roulette, can happen at any moment. We've seen that before.
Yes, we have.
Whoa. David Jacks nearly ran straight out there and lost a full second.
Yuha was there too, so we have both cars that have brake problems in the
already
same
suffered
frame.
that fate.
Yeah.
8 seconds is now the distance, and David needs to be really careful.
Yeah, very. Well, high drama here in Adelaide as we close out the final race of our Formula One schedule for 2020. Oh, and there's a yellow flag. That's Bruno. I'm sorry, not Bruno. That's
Yuha.
It's Yuha. Sorry, it's Yuha.
Again in a long braking zone where his car is definitely not performing to his liking.
So 2 laps to go now.
7 seconds now, the gap between Jakes and Del Piccolo. High drama here. But, I mean, Jakes should be able to keep that second position unless he suffers a catastrophic brake failure. But that, as I said, can happen any moment.
Nilsson is exiting Brabham Straight now, and he's going to be starting his final lap of the season, final lap of this race. Looks like he's on his way to another victory. He's babied this car the whole way, driven a very measured and clean race for the Benetton team. And here he goes to start his final lap of the race. Well, Jake's now
6 seconds between Del Piccolo and Jakes.
Yep.
With 2 laps to go.
Well, 1. Now there is
one now that he's going to cross the
Yes, now he's on his final lap.
And Davis on the final lap.
And you can just see Del Piccolo.
Seconds to go.
I think he's safe, assuming that he can traverse these last few corners without too much trouble.
5 seconds is the gap.
Oh my goodness, he's going to take it right down to the wire, isn't he?
Looks like it for sure.
Nilsson on to Brabham Straight for the last time in Nelson Piquet's Benetton B191. Coming up, 2 more corners to go. And as he exits this corner, he will see the checkered flag just ahead of him. He actually goes to put a lap on Janik, but Janik makes the room, comes off the corner. Nilsson, and Anders Nilsson has won the Australian Grand Prix for Benetton. Jakes has made it through the last hairpin without any trouble. It appears he's going to finish second. Coming through the final corner, he is coming off the corner, and Jakes takes second place in the race, and with that, Scuderia Italia has won the Constructors' Championship for the 1991 series. Great job. Del Piccolo finishes not far behind in third. Great drive by him to try to close up. Janik finished a lap down in fourth. David Yunt coming around now to complete his fantastic run in 5th place. Very well done for him. He crosses the line, salutes his crew. And Thiago Canola is going to bring his car home 6th, it appears, as Yuha makes room for him. Yuha, give credit to him for soldiering on, even in a car that doesn't want to behave. Here he comes down to the final corner. Some great drives in this race, I have to say.
For sure, and very close to the 2-hour limit. 10 minutes left now. So
yeah,
this was a long, grueling race for everyone who has been able to finish.
Very hard. I'm sure that most of the tires will be quite total by now.
Tim Hill is trying to finish his last lap, but nearly loses the back end of the car.
He's flagged now.
Is he flagged now? Okay, that's
yes, because he was 1 lap down, so that was his final one.
Yuha is in 8th place, and he has just parked his car.
Everybody has crossed the finish line now, including Bruno Chacon, who, to his joy, because that's his main objective in all races, can put another scratch on his belt.
Yes.
That's another race that he finished.
Tomas Matusik finished in 9th place, which is a great race for him. Starting to get the hang of these cars, I think. Parker finished in 10th. And yes, Bruno Chacon 11th. Those were the last cars running in the race.
Really good effort from everyone who has been able to finish this one.
So that was the Australian Grand Prix. Reactions, gentlemen?
Woof! What a fitting end to the season. I mean, high drama in all terms, and it was, I mean, on reflection, it was a long season. We had a lot of drama on both on track and outside of the track. But in the end, I think it's been an exciting ride. It's been very fun to broadcast it with you, Jason, and I'm looking forward to next year because we both will be here at the booth, and I'm really also looking forward to that, given the quality of the drivers that we have had this year, and I know they are all willing to start testing as soon as possible those 86 cars, because this season is over, and we're heading now for the next one.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. I'm looking forward to broadcasting 86 with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A whole new challenge for these competitors, and at the very elite level of competition in this league. I think we're going to see some excellent driving, some hair-raising moments, and yeah, really looking forward to it. And hopefully our friend Johnny Aces will have a ride somewhere in that series.
Completely depends on how the cars are to drive, I'd say. Sort of enjoyed this season, but clearly my ability to drive open-wheel cars are somewhat lackluster, so we'll see what team would like me as a driver as well. I don't know yet, but testing will tell.
All right, well...
But definitely looking forward to it, either way.
All right, there doesn't appear to be anybody in the green room who wants to be interviewed right now, so we may as well take this opportunity to close out the broadcast. But yeah, we're looking forward to next year, absolutely. Jonathan, will you be bringing us USAC action next Sunday?
I certainly will.
Okay, good. I've got graphics for you that you can use for that. That is good. Next Sunday, the green flag drops at 2000 CET, and as we like to say, when the green flag drops, the talking stops. Unless your name is Jonatan Acerclinth, and he'll be bringing you the race. And then following that, I'm not sure we're going to be broadcasting this or not. I'm thinking most people will want to drive these cars since we haven't had the opportunity to most of the year. It is a big entry list too, so I would anticipate lots of people in this race. The final 2 rounds of the Lucas Vidra Trophy at the Salzburg Ring should be excellent stuff. All right, well...
Will be a lot of fun for sure.
Well, thanks very much, Alberto and Jonathan, both of you. Always enjoy your company and your commentary, and I hope that everybody at home has enjoyed this series. Just for the record, Pascal Mikola wins the 1991 Formula One World Championship here at ISO, and Anders Nilsson has won the Australian Grand Prix. For Alberto Ibañez and Jonatan Acerclinth, this is Jason White saying so long from Adelaide.